Hello, I am Centimus Prime, and here I will be reviewing the Transformers Age of the Primes Deluxe Class Air Raid. So, starting this off, let's take a look at the figure himself. His design is looking alright. Getting a close up to his face. Mm, yeah, getting a close look at his face. It's nothing too outstanding. Like it looks fine. The eyes the eyes poke out rather nicely. Eyes stand out rather nicely, and I like the helmet designs are like pretty cool too. It's got like this weird like silver cap thing going on here with like the white like horns off to the side, like the white. Like it's nothing too outstanding, but it's a okay face sculpt, head sculpt. Looking pretty good. The torso is fine. Like you do have like these like large intake things on the sides of the chest. Yeah, like this white stripe here going down the middle with a nice prominent Autobot logo right there. Very nice. Overall, just like yeah, like it's like a mostly like red torso, and it has like a good like little, it has like a good little bit of like detailings here and there. Like looking all right. Arms, they look rather like at a first glance you can probably see the arms as like basic like blocky transformer arms as like but like on close up, you can see that there's like little bits of like rebling here and there, but for the most part, it is basically just generic like blocky like G1 arms. But that's alright since this is like your G1 character. The legs also they look yeah they look fine. They just don't look too outstanding, but they don't look bad either. You got like little pops of red on below the knees, but aside from that, it's just mostly like white and black parts. Like the feet, you got like nice prominent chins. The thighs and the hips, done up with like black parts. Not looking too bad. And now let's go ahead and turn him around and get a good look at him from the back. And here's where you get to see the majority of what he turns into, of the vehicle mode he turns into. Yeah, because this is basically one of those like G1 robots where he basically sourced the majority of his vehicle mode on his back, with a little bit on the back of his legs. It's like not like it like for the most part it's doesn't like most for the most part it doesn't stick out too far. Like the stuff that sticks out the farthest are the fins and wings and stuff, with a little bit of nose cone like pointing upward. Point upward, but there is options to like a display and to like display like the like certain parts of it. Like you can like so you can like hinge the wings, so you can either have them flush to, so you can either have them pointing all the way back, like flush, or you can have them like all flush to the side, so you can have them more visible from the front, or you can have them like in sort of an in between, like angled like that, so that you get to see it a little bit, but also like is at like a certain angle like that. For now, I'm just gonna go ahead and yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and like have those folded back, just for now. Like the yeah, but then you have like a look at that. It's nothing too like outrageous. It's like yeah, yeah, he has like a bit of a like kibbly back, but it's like there. It's thankfully it doesn't like horribly like intrude on the articulation that much. Which speaking of, let's move on to the articulation. So the head is on a rather good ball joint. Like it can rotate, but it can also look up a good amount. It does look up more than usual. And also look down like as much as usual. Without saying no, not really much. A ever so slight like tilting on the other side. And there's also this like transformation panel thing, which can allow him to look up even further. So that's neat. For the arms, he does have his shoulders are on a nice universal joint, so you can rotate them 360, and you can also have them hinge out to a little bit more than 90 degrees. A good got like a nice good uh, bicep swivel. Uh, Elbows bend past 90, a little bit more than 90. Wrists don't rotate, but they do hinge inward for transformation. He also does have a waist rotation, but more than that, he had and despite the amount of kibble on his back, it is a because of how it's sculpted, because of how it's designed, it is a unhindered swivel. It is completely unhindered, so you can like swivel his waist to your heart's content. The hips, so the hips can bend back uh, up as far as it'll go without it'll bend that way. Go past her. Can't go past that due to kibble, but regardless, that's still like a good amount of back. Kicks up to that far, which is pretty good. Can kick out to about that far. Does have a good thigh swivel. Knees can bend just about 90, but ever so slightly below that. Ever so slightly less than that 90. But still like pretty much 90. And also, well, I've already mentioned that the wings articulate. They can hinge out of the way so you can allow the arms to articulate more. And the feet can not only tilt like that far, like they can have your ankle tilts, but you also have this hinge right here, so you can to allow you to put the legs in more dynamic poses. You can rotate. It does. You can tilt the feet up, so you can do that. So that's really cool. So in terms of articulation, his articulation is pretty good. And his articulation is pretty good. Like yeah, like barely anything is hindered at all. Like he straight up just has pretty good articulation. And moving on to accessories, he does come with four, but two of them are like these fin accessories that come packaged separately that do just plug into these 5mm ports into back. You can plug them in other places, but these parts are clearly meant to go there. But regardless, he does come with two gun accessories. He comes with a pair of these sort of like small like shotgun. They kind of look like shotgun, kind of look like small like Uzi guns. They're hard to say, but you can just plug those into the hands. That's standard. Like he does like it is a bit loose in his hands, but thankfully, but because on yeah because right next to but because right on top of the 5mm like handle is like a squarish kind of like base to the gun, that combined to this like flat side here behind the hand, it, which means that if you plug this in, despite it being a little bit too loose, having a loose grip, it's still not gonna like be too much of a nuisance. So there is that at least. So it comes with a pair of guns, which, like, blast effect parts not included. These parts are, in fact, blast effect compatible. These effect parts not included, but the guns can definitely use these blast effect pieces. So there is that. That's pretty neat. Moving on. So now moving on to size comparisons. So with our first size comparison, here he is next to my custom Sentimus Prime character. Here he is next to your crosscuts, your basic sort of like average. You can tell that like he is head to head with your basic average deluxe. So he is about as tall as your average deluxe. And here he is next to the Starscream. So there you can get a comparison between a deluxe jet transformer with to avoid your jet transformer, basically. Okay, and with that, now let's get into the transformation. So starting off, let's go ahead and remove the guns. Let's straighten out the arms, fold the hands in, obviously. So you fold the hands in. What you then do is plug, it's like have the arms flush to the body. If like what you're basically doing is you're plugging this peg into this hole right here, and then doing that for the other side. After that, you just rotate his head, and we'll touch upon that later. But for the legs, you flip these stabilizer fins out. You then like open up these panels and then rotate the ones that are plugged in. What you then do is flip the feet into the shins. Then after that you plug the plug the legs together by plugging these tabs into these slots, basically like that. After that, you untab this, basically accordion like this part, the rear of the jet, around like that, and we'll get back to that. For now, let's go ahead and flip these wings down. These uh, so these parts of the wings will basically slide over these pegs on the back of the arms like that. So you basically do that. So just keep in mind, you plug the arms before you flip the wings down. After that, you untab the front of the jet and basically hinge it outwards like that. And then doing it like this, you you swing it over like the tab. You swing it over like this part of the jets while plugging these tabs into these slots in the torso, in the chest, like so. Having it so it's flush like that. After that, you then take this part and you have it down here so that these slots line up with these two tabs, and then you basically you plug that down. You according this down, having that flush with the rest of the jet mode. Then after that, you swing the shin pieces up so that these slots plug into these tabs, like so. And then after that, you take this white Autobot logo. You take this white panel with the Autobot logo, which is in fact a panel, and you flip this piece up to form a landing gear, and that's just gonna shoot into place. And then after you do that, and you are done. After that, you have Air Raid in his jet mode. And so taking a look at the jet mode, it does look pretty good. I do enjoy the look of this jet. Now, of course, you do flip the head. You do rotate the head so that his face isn't directly visible from the bottom. We'll look at the underside. You can tell he does have a pretty sleek. Does have a he does have a simplistic yet smooth transformation. It's not overly simple, but it is definitely smooth and fun to flip through. Yeah, not looking bad. You can tell that his colors basically flip with with his jet mode being mostly done up in black with subtle hints of white and red. And yeah, ever so slight tiny amounts of red with the Alpha logos and stuff. Yeah, it's an interesting it's a nice interesting little jet. Now you can of course bring back the guns. And what you can do is you can plug the guns. Of course you can plug the guns into the undersides of the wings, like so. And you can basically have his jet mode armed like that. Not looking too bad. Still looks pretty good. Now the underside, while he's still the underside you can definitely tell is just like his robot mode, mostly scrunched up under his jet mode. Not looking too bad. You can tell that the arms definitely are plugged in and more compact from the front and from the top. And even from the rear. And by the way, here's a good look at the rear of the vehicle, which aside from these rear jets being a little bit lower than I would expect them to be. Yeah, and with these fins being like on top of the jet's things rather than like off to the sides. But aside from those small little like differences, it's still, well, like, despite those small little differences, still does not look that bad. Still doesn't look too bad. Like, it's definitely a nice, like, basic jet. Like, you can definitely, you can definitely tell it's a decent little jet. Like, you have the front, you have the front cockpit, which is painted up in silver. You have like the white paint on the sides. The Autobot logos on either wing. Like, it doesn't look, again, does it, it looks it looks fine. It looks fine. And something, and like going back to the like jet thrusters things back here for a sec. If we can go ahead and bring back these non-included uh, blast effect pieces, you can actually plug those into there to have like these blast effect like exhausts coming out of the like turbines. So that's pretty neat. Like it's not anything too outstanding. Like yeah, it's just it's it's like not it's like it's not too bad. I'd say not too bad, not too shabby. So then let's so then of course let's go ahead and quickly move on to size comparisons really quick. So here he is next to Skids in his vehicle mode to see that's to see how much he scales to a deluxe like car, to a deluxe car. And here he is next to the Earthrise Starscream mold, the Earthrise Seeker mold. You can definitely tell that these two are a very similar design of jets, but you can definitely tell that there are like more subtle differences, especially towards the rear. But for the most part, they both look pretty similar. They're not too similar. You can definitely tell that there are a lot of differences. This is not this but smaller. I'm just saying that the vehicle modes look kind of similar to me. That's all. And yeah, and moving on to my overall thoughts on this. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can of course like flip this up and have him so he's flying. They do get like still have like that small like the like bits of kibble back here. But yeah, moving on to my overall thoughts on this. I I I find it to be I find it to be pretty good on its. I do find this figure to be pretty good on its own. Like on its own, yeah, it's like a pretty good. It's it does make for a it. I will admit that he is on his own. He is like kind of basic. Like you do have like a basic like non-assuming like not like terribly outstanding like robot mode. And then of course he transforms into like a pretty like simple like a pretty simple like jet basic jet modes that you would commonly see with Transformers. Like on his own, he is like it makes for a nice like basic like jet like Transformer. But he does have one more he does have one more feature that I have not mentioned up to this point because well it's like pretty obvious and like everyone already knows that. But this guy this but this guy Arid right here is a in fact a part of a combiner. This guy will of course form the leg of a combiner named Superion. And he does that by plugging into the back of like the uh like structure to like the leg structure just plugs into the back of that via via like tabs and so basically like tabs into the back of it using these like slots and these like ports. Like no, it's like not. So yeah, so like yeah, I do find it interesting that yeah overall I do find it interesting that this figure, despite being a part of a combiner and not being like a very prominent part of the combiner, it's just like a one of the legs. So it's like, despite being a part of it, like a pretty like basic like part of that, he still managed air raid still at the very least air raid still manages to stand like pretty good on his own. Like in terms of like this being its own separate figure, I'd say it's pulled off very well. He does have a good robot mode that look. He has a robot mode that looks fine. He doesn't look hindered in robot mode. He still articulates well in robot mode. And then he has a very rather smooth and some. He has a simple. He has a nice and smooth transformation. And then his jet mode like doesn't look too bad either. His jet mode looks pretty good, all things considered. And then he still has the uh, capabilities to combine with the other aerial bots to form Superion with little compromise. With and I will say with that, that is like a really, I say with those things in mind, I say this figure is pulled off very nicely. Like, sure, if you're getting this figure on his own, like you're like in for a very basic, but still but still solid transformer. He's solid, but he's still rather basic. He is basic, but still solid. Now, if you uh, do plan on getting the rest of the aerial bots, I say you're in for a good time overall. And and with and I would like to get the other aerial bots at some point, but it is going to take me a while. So it is going to take me a while to like track down and get the other area bots. But until then, I think that'll be it for this video. If you enjoyed this review, consider to like and subscribe and maybe even comment if you want. And of course, I will be posting again sooner or later.